I think we have the potential to become a household name, and I think people are ready for a better single-serve machine.
I met this girl, super cool idea. She's got a lot of energy, a lot of passion. I was like, all right.
Where I ask my guests, how did you do it and why?
Welcome to the Mark Halley Show, and glad to have you back. Today, we got some great people, and I'm looking forward to hearing from them. And let's start with simply introducing each of you and telling us about what you're doing and who your business is.
My name is Nomi Marsden. I'm founder of Nomi Brew.
Nomi Brew. Cool.
Nomi.
So, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It does sound like Nobi.
Yeah.
You can fix that in editing.
Yeah.
Editing.
Nomi.
You should know me.
Yeah.
Oh.
Think about it that way.
Ooh,
Then you won't forget.
Catchy.
Yeah.
You should know
Me.
my coffee. That sucks.
Yeah.
So anyway, and you, sir.
I, sir, am Scott McMartin. I am the founder of Fundamental Coffee Company and the director of quality for Nomi Brew.
Or
Cool.
Nomi.
Very
or
cool.
Nobi.
Or
You know,
Nomi Brew.
I had heard Fundamental Coffee before, but I couldn't place it. I'm like, and then I sold Brigo.
Brigo. Yeah, exactly.
But they got bought by Coca-Cola.
It's true. They did. From what I understood, is pennies on the dollar. But that was a fun little startup. It kept me down in Austin for a few years, which was good fun.
Great. We're not here to talk about that.
All right.
Okay. We're not going to talk about it. Nor are we going to talk about Coca-Cola,
No.
fucking McDonald's,
No, skip
Burger
that.
King. We're out on that. So let's get this puppy started with some element of seriousness. Naomi.
Sir.
Okay. You were the reason for this particular venture.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, for Nomi? Or for
No,
this
what else are you going to
podcast?
do with Nomi? Yeah, her hair product line.
Right. She's proud of her hair today. I mean, it's worth noting.
I'm using new hairspray. Yes, I found it.
Hair is beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
Scott did the honor of
Scott
smelling her
told
hair.
me.
Yeah.
And you followed suit.
It's a little questionable. I asked, smelling girls' hair is generally not a cool thing to do.
You know what is cool though? You ever smell a baby's head?
Oh, yes.
my God.
Yeah, they're
I
gorgeous.
will walk up to people with a young infant. I'm like, would you mind if I smell your child's head?
That's so weird, Scott.
And people usually give me if people get it and they really understand the sensory piece, they're like, of course. Like, why wouldn't you? Other people are like, please step
Actually,
back
that
from my
shit
child.
I would do. I would do that shit, but it is creepy. It is creepy.
Yeah, but it's a kid's head. I mean,
God damn,
God, it
back to
smells-
Nomi.
Sorry.
Christ almighty.
Why am we here?
Some people talk too much. Anyway, so back to it. What do we got here? Tell us a little bit about the product.
3 years in the making, I invented a coffee machine, single-serve coffee machine with a grinder.
Okay. And what provoked that?
A need for better single-serve coffee,
Okay. And what makes you think there's a need for better coffee?
because I think Keurig sucks.
I just had a Keurig.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's terrible.
I know it is. It is. Just so anybody knows, I've been banging around the coffee business for 35 years, generally selling packages, considered a specialist in that world. Probably people would call me
That's true. I buy his coffee bags.
one of the best in the world, I might say. I'm humble. So
No, it's great. I've been a user of your brand, or formerly known as your brand of bags, for forever.
yeah, well, I am famous.
You are.
Good looking, famous, smart, a lot of things.
I would say legendary in the
Legendary.
packaging
Yeah.
business.
Oh yeah, a chick magnet.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I got one.
That's good.
That's
Hey,
all. That's all you need.
That beats
You
my
get
record.
one.
Beats my record. I mean,
So anyway, continue on. 3 years in the going. So what do we got? Tell us about it. Tell us why you think it's good.
So I saw a need for better single-serve coffee that was podless, convenient, and affordable.
And pod
And
was
they're-
being the catch because of the issues around pods.
Pods. Yeah, there's a lot of issues.
And did something like, well, okay, so here's this girl, Naomi, chilling out, hanging out, and she goes, wow, I like to make like a podless cup of coffee. So I'd say, well, why don't you just go brew it? Ain't no pod there.
So it pivoted from 5 years ago. It was a French press kit. Did you know that, Scott?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was a French press on the go that I kind of have asked for 2.5 years with engineers. And they came to the conclusion in July of 21 that it would take 30 minutes to buy battery to heat up room temperature water and then cool it down to drinking. Ain't nobody got time for
wait.
that.
no.
Okay, so you got to do battery.
So
Fuck.
like French press on the go. So the idea was a high-end French press kit that business travelers would use in their hotel rooms because no one likes hotel. I mean, for the most part, hotel coffee, it still sucks.
Say it blows. I mean, for those of you in the coffee world, the one thing you call the shit coffee is HRI, Hotel, Restaurant, and Institution. And generally, we look upon that and we go, if you go, for us, when we go on a sales call and they said HRI, we'd be like, boop, gotta go.
Yeah.
There's cheap shit. We call it churn and burn.
Yeah.
You know, and just cheap shit coffee. So anyway, you're used to, you don't like the cheap shit. And now you didn't just brew it.
So, yeah, I realized there was nobody who wanted.
I'm digging in here.
Yeah, no one wanted to drink hotel coffee. No one as in me. I took a survey.
No, I think
one.
that's pretty.
No,
I mean,
I made the observation. So for 2.5 years, I kind of half-assed the idea of a French press on the go with an engineering team. And then July 21, they said no go. They gave me the no go call on Friday.
a no-go means
No
wait a
go.
minute. So you're okay, but who's saying no go?
Engineers, smarter than me. So they said
That's
it would
not
take
always true,
30.
but go ahead.
No, 30 minutes. So the whole thing was the battery. Like at that time, they're probably better now.
Yeah, yeah.
So to take room temp, I mean, this is a little colder what we're drinking now, but room temp of like 60 degrees to brewing around 200 down to drinking, which is around 145. From a battery standpoint, it would take 30 minutes. And that, no one has time for 30 minutes.
it's forever.
For a cup of coffee.
It's not exactly an instant drink, you know.
No.
30 minutes. I'm not doing that. So now over to you, Scott. All of a sudden you show up and you're hip coffee dude.
Right. My background, I worked at Starbucks for 20 years and did a lot of buying, quality and that kind of stuff. And one of the cool gigs I had there was being linked into the coffee development or equipment development team. So every time a new adaptation for the Mistrena machine or even the La Marzocco machines came up, it was like, hey, send the monkey down there to go taste a bunch of stuff and tell us what's acceptable and what new button we should add or what new parameter might be interesting. So I had that.
Pardon me. I sat around with some guys one night at a coffee show and they were tasters, right? So they're cool. I'm not. I'm a bad guy. Okay. I'm not hip. And they don't think bad guys are cool in the tasting world. So anyway, they actually sipped the coffee. And I don't know if this is bullshit or not, but some of them could identify the origin.
Sure.
Yeah, he can.
And even like the blend.
Scott can.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I'm a Q grader and I also have a sommelier degree. So doing sensory and tasting work and product development's been a big part of my life. So
Yeah.
I'm probably one of those nerds. I don't brag about it or think I'm hot shit because of it. It's just I think it's a God-given gift. You can't train someone to be a good taster.
But anyway, as a Q grader, explain what a Q grader is. Most people wouldn't know.
Yeah, sure. It's a course that's kind of initiated through the Specialty Coffee Association and what's called the Q at one point. And you're trained as a future taster or as a taster to go through a number of exercises that are identification of flavors. So what do organic acids taste like? What do coffees from certain regions taste like? And then you're think about it as kind of a very entry-level sommelier. We want to go back to the wine thing for a minute. And we're given a vocabulary and a vernacular of words that hopefully make sense to your average consumer, where the thing has gone a little bit awry.
What would some of them be?
Things related to like acidity, so citrus acidity, or it tastes like lemons or grapefruit. And then you get people who go crazy, and it's like, this is like pink grapefruit with a hint of turbinado sugar.
Yeah, I know.
And that's a little obnoxious and off-putting.
The fruit and the woody back flavor, along with you can taste the flames a little bit.
It's only those things are only useful if the person that you're speaking to has that reference in their tasting history. If not, it's meaningless and it sounds off-putting and also, very separatist. It's like, well, you don't know what a persimmon snap is, so you're a shit taster. It's like, no,
Me too.
Q is for quality.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you. Thanks for jumping in.
Yep.
So back to Nomi, Naomi, Nobi,
She answers to
Naomi,
both.
whatever the hell it is. So now you feel like something's going on with this coffee because you did this for a while prior to bringing on somebody like Scott.
I got it to a point. So when I pivoted in July of 21, I saw the opportunity was to do a single serve coffee machine with a grinder at a reasonable price point. I didn't see any machines below $500 for single serve. The idea itself is not novel to do single serve with a grinder. It's novel for the price point. And then the quality that we want to have, it's novel for the price point.
Okay.
But yeah, I got it to a point where it's working, but its quality wasn't honed in yet. And so I realized I needed people far smarter and better than I am. So that's why I brought an engineer into the team as well as Scott, who
Very cool. Very cool.
There's
Good
a lot.
move. Good move. I mean, the thing that here's the great thing. Naomi wanted me to see the thing, right? So she's up in Seattle. I love this. It's probably the reason I have her on and the reason I'm so intrigued by her, because I was like this when I was young. So she says, "Oh, I have it up here," right? And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I can't remember. You get it shipped, or did you bring it
no,
with
I
you?
brought it. I think it was August.
Yeah, it was in this
23.
big ass corrugated box, and she comes into my office. I'm like, "What the
is
fuck?"
this?
But she's all peppy and psyched up. I'm like, well, have at it." Clearly she's trying to track down some cash. Which who knows, that may still happen. But I'm like, look at this corrugated box and some fucking look, So, but I loved it because you drag it out, and I'm like, whoa, very cool.
It was like a million.
Pieces,
Click,
parts.
click, click, click. but then it worked.
It worked.
And you were so fired up about it that your energy was contagious.
Oh.
And I think for anybody out there in the world of sports, in the world of businesses, energy is contagious. It's a huge thing, and it attracts. It just does. And that's what you did with me. So now we have this thing, and you've come up with this idea, and you have passion behind it.
Mm.
And now you're sitting there and you say, okay, wow, that's a really cool idea, man.
Which timeline are we at?
We're just at the part. Let's pretend. I don't know if you smoke pot or not. We're not going to say anything. Okay. You do a bong hit and then you're like, wow, shit's kicking in. How am I going to make this thing?
Okay.
So what do you do?
Are we back in 21?
Yeah, I don't know
think
where
so.
we are.
Okay, so
Crying
we're
out
back in
loud.
20. So I pivoted in how it
She
is
pivots
kinda-
a lot. She's a pivoter.
Yeah.
I pivoted and realized it was the idea. I was already working with product development for people, with engineers. So there's 3 of them. So that had allowed me to just take that idea fairly quickly into a CAD drawing.
Okay.
So by September, I already had drawings for the machine of 21. And the idea came in July.
Wow, that's pretty
Everybody,
cool.
yeah, and everybody collectively was on board on that, like the single serve idea versus the French press idea. So I feel like I had to push people for the French press and like really kind of work up my game for selling it. But no, it wasn't flying high.
Okay.
But when we pivoted to French press or the single serve, it flew high like an eagle.
Well, good. Good. I'm glad, that's not easy to do. That's a real kick in the teeth when something, falls flat on your face that you were
Yeah.
pumped for.
Well, yeah, and the money. And I mean, there's a lot of lessons. But because of the failure or it was a failure, I'll own it. But I learned a lot the single serve, like bringing in IP attorneys fairly quickly, doing the IP research fairly quickly. So I learned all of it. Starbucks actually started a single serve. I
Yeah.
think back in they abandoned the patent.
So now you get involved with it and you have a business. What's your business or what was
I'm a coffee roaster as well. So
Okay.
I have a roasting company that's 10 years old. And also I was working when we met in an importing capacity. So importing coffee from growing countries.
Okay. Well, there was something fundamental, something.
Yeah, that's the name of the roasting company,
Oh, is
Fundamental
it?
Coffee Company.
And where's that located?
Right here in Seattle.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's good.
Well, I'd love to get out and somehow promote it for you.
Awesome.
No easy place to make a buck.
No, there's a lot of the competitive set here is pretty heavy duty. There's people who are very good, which I may or may not be very good depending on your taste in coffee. But I'm a dark roast guy.
Okay.
I cut my teeth in San Francisco. I worked with Alfred Pete back in the day,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was lucky. I've been fortunate in my Starbucks career. People love to say bad things about Starbucks, but I'm not going to say bad things about Starbucks because why would I have ever gone to New Guinea in my entire life if I didn't work for Starbucks? Not just once, but twice, Mark.
Solid.
Wow. Okay. That's good. All right.
Solid.
Solid. Okay. We're in. We're in. Papua New Guinea.
Papua New Guinea, long ways away. It's not really the end of the world, but you can see the end of the world from there.
Yeah. You
close.
don't go further.
No.
Don't go further. I want to get back to you here, Naomi, but you're doing this little target market, and all of a sudden you learn about Naomi.
Yeah, I actually met her through our engineering guy, Tim, and I had worked with him previously, and he was like, I met this girl, super cool idea. She's got a lot of energy, a lot of passion. I was like, all right, that sounds interesting. And then we met, and I was like, yeah, as you said, Naomi has a contagious sort of energy and passion, and I love the idea. I met her around Brewers for 30 years. Some of them really terrible, some of them great. But the idea of a nice grinder that would do this thing fresh and be relatively fast in the delivery is a nice proposition.
It is. Well, I know just basically for the Keurig, that's one of the reasons it's gained such popularity. Other than it generally the coffee sucks.
Well, that's the thing too. We've just comparing anecdotally, we were like, meet a Keurig owner who says it's great. I don't know that they're out there.
Who like wakes up and wants to
Like,
have
man,
a
I love this machine. I mean,
Keurig.
Yeah. No. I mean, well, I'd say it's go-go juice. It's kind of like going to the
Right.
7-Eleven or whatever it is, Just go in there, I used to go into there when I was tired and just throw 3 cups of ice in it and just, 3 pieces of ice and just chug it when I was a young guy, just get rolling. It was not at all for taste,
Right.
not remotely. But now I'm just trying to get myself back together here. You meet Tim and Tim turns you on.
I
to
met
Naomi.
Tim.
yeah,
I
Naomi met Tim.
They used to work together at Brigo, Tim and Scott,
Okay.
back in Austin.
I saw Brigo, but I didn't know who the other folks were.
Tim.
Okay.
So I had this idea, and I had the prototype. So at that point, I had the second prototype. No, I had the first prototype. So the initial idea, sorry, I'm very linear. Okay. So the initial idea came July 21, CAD drawing September 21, first prototype, like I think it was October, November 22, because we found a manufacturer, large scale manufacturer. That took like 6 months. And then we made revisions. So by 23, I was on the second and third by July of 23.
So wait a minute. This is 21. The one you get kind of smacked in the face on this one thing, and you go, "Oof! I got to pivot
Yeah,
and
we
try
had to
something
pivot.
else." Okay, so then that's 21. So now we're at 23. If I got
2
it
years.
right.
Yeah, fast forward.
Okay, 2 years. During which time, not only are you developing the product, you're trying to attract investors and/or
Not
people
at
that are
that
pumped.
point. I wanted to bring it to a point to investors when I could see the finish line. I funded it myself through December 23.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that's because you had was it a marketing agency?
Yeah, I still do, but it's small.
Okay.
Yeah, marketing agency.
Wow.
So I wanted to fund it. Taking people's money is super. It's just I see a lot of horror stories. Like SPF was our most recent horror story in the news. So I did not want to take anyone's money until I could see the finish line. And so by July or the summer 23, so last summer, at that point I had engineers, multiple engineering teams, the manufacturer, which we've already moved away from at that point to get out of China. And then we had a production timeline. So I was like, I knew that quality wasn't there, and I knew I wasn't the person to hone in on that. So that's when I started. I mean, I met with everyone. Anyone who said a name, I would hunt them down.
Yeah, well, good for you. How else do you do it?
You have to be tenacious.
Dialing for dollars, just pounding away.
Yeah. Or show up at their door.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
I'm stalking, but it's okay.
It's interesting because I made a lot of money in my life. I would go to a town and then I'd look in the yellow pages back before there was internet. And I'd just go banging on everybody's door.
That's also stalking.
Let's say what we call an elevator pitch.
For the
What
machine.
what do you say?
Single serve with the machine. Single serve with the grind. Oh my gosh. I've said this like millions of times. Single serve coffee machine with a grinder.
Okay.
Bean to cup.
Yeah, bean to cup, single serve.
Single serve and within 3 minutes. Convenience of a Keurig, quality of a high-end coffee machine.
Wait, you got to throw in the environmental thing, right?
Yeah, no pod waste.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
helping the farmers through specialty coffee, so we're paying better wages. I mean, they're making more money because they have a higher quality coffee.
And what would you say is a fair Scott? We're talking to Scott now, handsome guy right across from me. He's really giving me the eyes here.
That's not the stink eye, though. It's just more admiration, really.
That's right. In today's world, I'm all cool.
Yeah.
I'm very cool. But anyway, so what would you say are relatively good, like coffee delivery systems, outside of Keurig? You've seen a lot of them. What would be one that, without, bumming out Nomi coffee? You've been in the game for a long time. What would be you consider a single serve, a relatively good one?
I think that it depends on what kind of coffee you want to brew. If you're talking about espresso drinks or brewed coffee, if it's brewed I've got to say that the guys at Mocha Master do a nice job.
Really?
You know, I think there's a good aesthetic there. The product is well manufactured, well built. And then, you know, there's the fellows. They make nice products as well. And
I don't
then,
know them.
yeah, they're
Fellow.
reasonably new fellow. I want to say the decade maybe. And then for espresso, it's you know, it's something like La Marzocco as sort of the pinnacle.
That's the
For
machine.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
The brand for you know, espresso almost
Because they're
exclusively.
piling those things out all the time. You know, it's like, whew, who needs another espresso machine?
Yeah, it's
like
huge.
a hole in the head. You
Well,
know?
for something small, I mean, I think there's a few different people out there, and I test positive for using a French press.
Mm-hmm.
We're not as fast as a Keurig machine at the moment, and we want to deliver both quality and the experience to be speedy, but not at the sacrifice of the cup quality.
Yeah, I could see that, you know, but that's a bit of a trick. So now, I mean, that's obviously not an easy task. So now, those of you who may not know this, I'm going to ask more of a technical question that people who don't know coffee. I presume you have to grind it to a certain grind level. You know?
Yeah, we've got a really nice grinder built into this. Here's some dorky talk here. It's a conical burr grinder.
I love them.
They're fabulous. So why is that cool? Well, you get a more consistent particle size, and why does that matter? Because your extraction, which is hot water into the coffee, happens in a much better way when you have a consistent grind size. So we have a grind that's matched up to our, here's another dorky thing, our brew basket. So all those things. So you need fresh coffee.
The brew basket is what you bring the coffee to, like in
Correct.
Yeah, you bring it to a little bag.
Like
Here's my coffee.
yes,
Exactly.
correct. So anyway, so you've got your fresh coffee. You've got a grinder that does a great job making the grind consistent. Hot water coming out at about 203 degrees, and we're pulsing the water out. So it's like, imagine if you turn the shower on and off.
Mm-hmm.
So why is that a good thing? Well, you get a more even extraction that way, and you don't flood the whole top of the bed of grounds with a whole shitload of coffee and then walk away and say good luck. It's much more evenly brewed that way. And what is the end result? Better soluble solids. So more soluble solids in general leads to better cup, better extraction.
Winding off back to some nerdy stuff, and I don't want to stay on nerdy too long, but you have those little flying wheels in there that are chopping coffee up. And I remember from doing it myself, you're not getting the burr grinder is actually pushing down and kind of spinning and, I guess for lack of a better word, mushing the coffee against.
It's got teeth. So
Okay. And I know that's the game. But a lot of the common grinders that you're going to see in homes, they are not that type.
you have a blade grinder is the typical classic. Everyone has that they use for, grinding cinnamon and then grinding coffee and then grinding herbs.
Oh,
and
goodness.
yeah, it's
And it says a little flywheel, which you can and you hear it, and if you look at the grind, you can see it. It's pretty simple to see. But anyway, back to you, Nomi. So Naomi, good God.
It's okay. It happens often.
Yeah. Hey, Nomi with Naomi Coffee.
There he goes.
Wait, Nomi
no,
Coffee.
Naomi with Naomi.
Our goal is to be SCA approved. So they have a golden cup, that golden cup
Oh,
standard.
yeah.
So super technical, which Scott is going to ensure that we do it. But it's very scientific. I think that's been a very interesting learning thing as I've been on this journey, is how scientific the approach is to make a good cup of coffee.
And people will, in the industry will swear up and down on has to be this way, and what are the ideal solids. And at a certain moment, you have to, as a equipment manufacturer, take a point of view. Here's what we want it. Here's how long we want it to extract for. Here's what we're targeting in the cup, and that's what we've been working on. I mean, we talked about what's the best thing out there. Is it a cone? Is it a pour over? Is it a French press? Is it espresso? How do we get that great cup? And everyone has a slightly different opinion on that. So there is no one.
Yeah.
It's got to be this.
Yeah.
We're taking a point of view, and that we believe is going to yield a great cup of coffee.
Yeah. And what have you learned about coffee in general as the
There's
tasting?
so much.
Do you feel as though you've become a much? You're not Q grade.
Oh, I'm not a Q grader.
Okay.
Scott judges me because I still put cream and sugar. Specifically, the sugar is what
Sugar is the
throws
tough
him
part.
off.
A little cream is okay, but
Asshole.
yeah, exactly.
Pardon my language.
Yeah.
Asshole.
But I do drink it black, and I also can drink it, or I can drink it with black, and I actually do it a lot with creamer because his judgment has rubbed off on me. But
No, I mean, I'm not a coffee drinker per se, but I've had enough of it that if you drink coffee, you eventually stumble upon something that you go, "Ooh, that's good." And mine was a Costa Rican medium, and with a dash of cream,
yeah.
and that was my go-to. And they only happened because I was actually in Costa Rica. Someone gave me some at a sales call, and it just hit my mouth. I was like, "Wow, that's good."
I like Central America.
You know.
I think just also learning the flavor notes. Coffee is a lot like wine, and that most people know what regions they like their wine, like California or France.
Oh yeah.
But they don't know their coffee, and it's actually the same way, like they should. And so I think if you want a fruity coffee, I mean, this is going to be more Scots, but Kenya or Ethiopia is going to be more fruity. Chocolatey is going to be your Colombia or Central America. So I think I think we want to normalize coffee. It's kind of been in this very little knowledge to people who kind of keep the knowledge to themselves. And so just like, I mean, when I go into the liquor store, if I don't know like I just like a Pinot Noir or whatever. So I'll go in and I'll grab something, or like Chardonnay. I know now that I like a buttery Chardonnay. So that's all I know about my Chardonnay. And then I'll just ask, and then I'll see if there's a point system, which correlates with specialty coffee.
You ever do any cupping with wine?
I've cupped coffee. I have not cupped wine.
Well, that's a big thing in Woodinville. My wife, there's all these tasting rooms, so they get down there, and I think you get 8 of them in a row. Basically, you can get hammered if you want to.
Is it called cupping for wine too?
Oh, no.
Tasting.
I don't
Yeah,
know. No, a
tasting.
wine
Yeah.
tasting.
You would
Yeah,
just say
cupping
tasting,
would be
yeah.
coffee.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's right. That's right. So when do you think you became sort of a competent coffee drinker?
Still don't. I mean, I'm sitting by a legend to my left, which is
Okay,
not
but
Mark.
In my own mind.
Scott.
Yeah.
So
But I mean,
I'm
you're
not-
you're by a legend. Well, then the legend can say,
Yeah, the legend can say.
where would you put her on the, let's say FDC, and we're going to cross those off just for, don't say anything else. Then we're like a C plus, B minus.
I'd say give her a B minus. I mean, I think what Naomi can do is if there's a particularly, this might sound silly, but if there's a coffee defect or something that's off, she's able to pick that up and like not use the correct tasting terminology, but like there's something that tastes off here. And she doesn't do those annoying things that novices do, like, I don't like this one. This one tastes like
me.
This is like earthy.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm like, I didn't ask if you liked it. I asked what it tasted like.
I think there's a lot of, like, I've learned, part of my learning in specialty, which Scott, of course, has been around forever, but I'm brand new to in the last couple of years, is how snobby the industry is.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
And it's irritating. It's like at the end of the day, you can have your cream and sugar with a dash of coffee, just like Scott will have his black with a dash of cream. Like, it's okay. We can all be happy and be friends.
I know it's funny. People get so wrapped up in that, or I've been in the selling whole bean coffee world for 34 years in coffee, and it's sort of like people buy fundamental and they're like, it's probably gonna make you really mad, but I'm like, actually, you bought the coffee. I don't really give a shit what you do with it.
Yeah,
I'm grateful
yeah.
for your purchase. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, who cares? But anyway, now let's get back to this damn machine.
Yes.
So now you develop them, and now you have to go out and you have to get it onto the market, which I presume you mentioned SCA. It's not SCAA anymore. It's SCA.
Was it 2 A's?
And
It was America.
That.
Now
They
it's
dropped
global. It's
it,
global.
whatever the hell it is. But anyway, what does it entail to get their stamp of approval?
That's Scott.
It's there's certain specs it needs to be able to heat up the water to a certain temperature. It needs to be an extraction piece. Needs to be UL approved. It's sort of the basic things that you would expect.
And is it also
Soluble.
they do some cupping off of it?
Yes. So they would make sure that it performs in a certain set of criteria. And it's primarily around temperature, brew time, and extraction.
And
And soluble solids.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're not generally they're not commenting on the quality as much as they are the function.
It meets all
Technical.
those specs that would in theory yield a good cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And they're not going to look at it and go, "Oh, this is really ugly." It's not that. It's more, does it meet all these criteria that
And is that done by way of there's a panel, I know, at the SCA.
I think it's a submitted for approval kind of thing, and they have a group that tastes and sort of goes through the validation process. Yeah.
I think that can be a little political.
Probably.
Oh, it is. I know, because I was deeply involved in the SCA and then became desperately tried to get uninvolved just because I don't have the heart for all the, a lot of big personalities.
Right.
And a lot of people who know all their shit, and most of them are promoting their own product.
Typically,
which was, there's not much of an objective view, although you have the benefit of not competing against them generally, so that works to your advantage. So when it comes down to so there's no particular type of coffee. Like I think it runs better on dark or medium or light. Blonde has been the big talk of late.
We are aiming. Yeah, Scott's going to have opinions on that. So that's also a technical question. If so, dark coffee is more oily. We are aiming it for middle of the ground. For that, we can't actually please everybody.
No, yeah, absolutely.
And so we're middle of the ground, more of a medium coffee is what we're looking at.
Okay.
Scott, do you want to add to that?
No, it's good. I mean, we have to make sure when we're fine tuning our grinder and the materials that are used to make the burr grinder that it doesn't completely stick when we're using coffee that's roasted a little bit darker. It should be universal enough that it works with both light roast and more medium to dark roast.
Yeah. I mean, they're all going to. It's a matter of taste. My wife is a espresso freak, so she spent a fair amount of money, searching them. Ultimately, she got one that does a grinding within it. Takes I don't know if it's great, but she loves it. She loves it. She'll do it at home every day. That's her little gig, and she'll do it. She don't always do espresso roast. She'll mix them around. Just because she likes doing it every morning. But now you're doing product development, running around trying to talk to investors, marketing it, helping to do, obviously the coffee tasting with the help of others. That makes for a busy day.
It's a busy day. And we just launched Kickstarter last week.
Wow.
And
Kickstarter. So tell our world about that. I mean, they know the name of it, but say it again.
Kickstarter. It allows creators to be funded by backers in usually the development process.
Okay.
So the product's usually not ready.
And you just kick it out there. Well, you look for somebody to kickstart.
So the idea was to start pre-selling through Kickstarter. Once the Kickstarter is done, we'll start taking pre-orders on our website. But this kicked us off to pre-sell.
Okay. Now, so your day, what the hell are you doing? That's a lot of shit to do. I mean, you wake up in the morning. I mean, I know running a business, there's, 15 things to do. Are you, for anybody who's younger or newer in business, what tips would you give on trying to organize a day?
That's a good question. I think be intensely focused, especially in this day and time where we're so distracted by social. I actually don't, even owning a marketing company where we focus on digital, I have always been pretty focused and trying to get rid of noise. There's a lot of noise around us. So I don't get on social. Now it's changed a little bit with the Nomi side, but I think there's a lot of distraction that will get you off. And so I think like the fact that, it's still amazing. Like I'm able to bring a product pretty quickly, but you have to be focused. I would say that's the number one thing.
What would you say from a standpoint of creating financial projections? I mean, for me, I'm a back of the napkin business guy. I can write down, I got $100 that came in, cost me 70. Okay, watch this. 100 minus 70, 30.
That's
okay,
solid.
That's good. Now I got another problem. I have to pay people.
Yeah.
So I try just to drive their wages down. Oh, like a bastard, right? I mean, I have them just at minimum wage. Everybody, right? I don't care. If they say I don't like to pay, you're fired. Okay, that's just what I do. But all joking aside, you obviously have to take these costs out. So now you got $30 sitting there, take them all out, you got $10 at the end. But that's a lot more complex once you start to put that on a financial spreadsheet. Well, where are you in that world of, the back of a napkin versus a sophisticated accounting or something? Not sophisticated, but a pretty well done.
I think pre-rev is the stage that we are until last week. So now we're in rev, kind of. It's not booked as revenue. Is kind of still
booking. Okay, we're not to get into that. That's where we get the smart guys.
Where I was like, we're not going to
drag those guys in.
Sarbanes-Oxley.
I just pre-rev numbers when I've been raising money it is bullshit, and I've kind of learned that because you could say whatever you want about this machine. Like it could make whatever. No one knows. So to me, my other marketing company is more realistic. And pre-revenue, it's been a very real bullshitting number where I think to raise money and who I am and integrity and my team is far more important than the projections in pre-rev. The projections will matter after we are off the ground. But right now, I think what matters more is the integrity that I have and the team that I've surrounded myself
Well,
with.
anybody, people, I know for myself, if somebody comes in and they do the old, okay, there's 100 of these sold. If I get 1.5%, I sell half of them. And if I multiply that by 12, I ended up getting 13.5. And then if you're like, you're pulling these numbers out of your ass. You don't, wonderful. They sound great. But now as you get closer, you have to start drawing some conclusions.
Correct. We're doing forecasts. Like right now we have Tim and I, our COO, he and I, we do with our accounting controller, we do a 13-week forecast, 13-week cash flow.
Cash flow, that's the big game.
Forecast every single week. But to do 18 months where we're at and is kind of silly. It just doesn't, you just kind of make it up. But where we are in maybe 12 months, or even 6 months, it'll be much more critical. But for us, it's just, we're in a different stage.
Well, there's obviously a point in any business where you go, okay, I'm breaking even. What's going out is what's coming in, and it's a huge step.
Oh, it's huge. We're going to party. Like it's 1999.
Yeah. Well, it's that's business if you're going to have anything
No,
going.
of course. Well, Amazon didn't. So, you could go into that. Amazon wasn't profitable for a long time.
Well, that's true. That's true. You may not have the leeway.
I don't have the name. No, but
Well, they didn't.
I think integrity. I don't know what it is. There is bullshit and there's smoke in the mirrors, especially with, I've seen younger entrepreneurs, like younger as in under 45. So we've seen a lot, like the EV guy just went to jail for the truck, 4 years. Obviously Elizabeth Holmes, obviously SBF. And I just think what really matters is the integrity and the team and of course the business side of it. But for me to just be charismatic, it's kind of silly. It doesn't matter who I am. It does in the integrity side, but it's the business idea is a good idea as long as I have integrity in the team that can carry it through. That's it.
And Scott, you bring that.
Yes, he does.
Obviously from the way you speak. Honestly, no joking aside. I read your LinkedIn, your bio. You're bringing the bigs.
Yep.
And you've been at it a long time. And
I can't escape, Mark, really.
No, you can't. I can tell you this. I started selling bags at 26. I prayed I would get out of it for 35 years. So I think a lot of us are younger folks, just so you know, you get into something and, maybe you bounce around a little bit, but it passes income at one point. Mm-hmm. It becomes just like, for you're working on something for coffee. And now it just becomes almost like this scientific focus. You don't even get to think about it in any other way. And what the hell made you want to do it with coffee?
Yeah, it's a great question. I lived in San Francisco, went to school there, and moved from the East Coast, and the coffee culture blew me away. There were this dark roast coffee, and people were super interested, and it was a communal sort of piece where the social lubricant beyond alcohol was coffee.
Yeah.
And I love that. That really attracted me. And seeing the old tradition in North Beach in San Francisco, where these old Italian guys were smoking cigarettes and drinking shots of espresso. They look cool. I was like, all right, I like that. And there was something culturally that was kind of interesting. So, and I had a cool career and still continued to.
How'd you get the first job?
First job, I begged the lady who was the buyer for Starbucks to hire me in the tasting room as an apprentice.
Really?
And I was so annoying that eventually she acquiesced and said, okay, you get to roast these samples. I'll taste them, or I'll teach you how to taste. And then you get to call the people back who submitted these samples and tell them it was good or not, or were interested in buying. So that was how it all began. Cleaning up my spittoons.
Yeah, actually. But you're yes, I know that. Yeah. I know that. I scrubbed toilets in a movie theater.
Yeah. Spittoons might be worse.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fascinating what they can do in a toilet room. Shit that they can get they can get done. But anyway, so you don't have any experience at that point.
No.
But then you become a sommelier. That's a wine sommelier?
Yeah, I did that while I was working for Starbucks. I got a little bored mid-career, and thought I like wine, and this would be a good opportunity to learn a little bit more about sensory evaluation. I mean, my career has been so weird. This is a story I love to tell. Yes, I did the wine tasting thing, but I've also been on cheese tasting panels with people like the folks at Kraft. I've tasted mayonnaise. Again, just like I was there, and they're like, "Hey, we have a tasting panel that sounds like kind of weird. Would you be interested?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Well, once you've honed the skill, it's
That's cool.
kind of cool.
So being a tasting person for a living has been pretty cool. So I qualify as like a super taster, whatever the fuck that means.
Well,
but I was told that at some point.
But he was also, when did Alfred Pete come in?
Early on, back when I was down in San Francisco. So my boss then was good friends with Alfred, and he came in every day. And he was not involved with Pete's anymore. He had sold it. In his quasi-retirement, he was sort of consulting. And he liked me because I had long hair and was a hippie. And,
Long hair.
He still has long hair.
I have long hair. It's just on my back now.
Ew.
Yeah, no, sorry. But this guy was an old Dutch guy, really stern, really strict, and taught me a lot of the discipline in sensory. And a lot of his stuff was like, don't ever say something like this tastes like my grandmother's basement, because I've never been to your grandmother's house.
Good point.
That's a
So,
good point.
I mean, it was like that kind of stuff was fundamental training. And when I've worked with people, I've brought that same sort of school of teaching and of sensory stuff to my coworkers.
Gonna keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, really. And that's been cool. And some of the guys that I trained and worked with in my early days at Starbucks are still in coffee, and that feels pretty good.
Yeah. So now, how about you? How are you doing with attracting? You got to go out and bang the door and get people to say, "Hey, I like this thing, and maybe I'll give it a shot."
Track for which
just to
audience?
let people see the product, try the product.
Yeah, no. So Kickstarter. So I went and raised money in 23, and that took a lot of effort. So I was only focused on investors. Kickstarter last week was really our first introduction to the world. And so we did not have it public. We did not have it on our website. We had no mention of it anywhere. Last week changed that. And so we hit our goal, 11,000 in the first 24 hours,
Cool,
$11,000.
cool.
And then now the rest of the year is just continuing to sell. We do plan on doing a lot more videos just to show the quality. So
Absolutely.
tapping into Scott's network of people who like to judge me and judge the machine.
And me.
And then we'll record that and just throw that up there. So really, this year's all pre-orders. So
Okay.
we're moving into production at the end of the year.
Okay.
And it feels good. People are I was joking this morning that we're sort of obsessed with seeing, people's comments, and it's like, oh my
Sure.
God, we sold another 10 machines, and it's small, but
cool.
it feels
That's very
pretty great,
cool.
actually.
And people they're ordering from across the U.S. and then parts of the world, which still is just funny. It's just everybody. We're only shipping to the U.S. And we have that very clear. But people, France, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, Germany, and we're like, we're not shipping it to you people, but thank you
pretty
for
cool.
your order.
Pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Glad you
Well,
like
I guess this way past the game, but I guess ultimately you have to sell through distribution.
Yeah, correct.
Because we had to do that. We were selling direct into Europe and Central America and all that stuff. And then eventually had to bring somebody in from Germany, which, was just, is volume going to justify giving them a cut?
Well, we'll eventually ship internationally, but just not the first phase. Not day one, but day two, maybe.
Well, I mean, the cost of moving things around the world these
Yeah.
days is not as hard as it used to be.
No.
Right.
You can zap them around. It's a little more expensive than you want with the distribution. But getting people to, when I was looking for a distributor, the thing I loved is a bunch of people wanted to buy it on consignment. They'd be like, hey, sell me, let me have 100,000 bags
Oh, let's see
and
how
I'll
they do.
pay them as you use them. I'm like, what the fuck is that? That's not a distributor. Now, maybe in your business you have to do that, but sending people something that's made and sitting on their shelf at some distance, well, how do you know what the inventory is? You have to basically fly down there and get it, I don't know, go count it on the shelf and say, oh, there's, 12 of them sold and now pay me for the 12 or whatever,
Right.
But maybe that's what you have to do at the start. I don't know. Have you I assume haven't explored any of that yet.
We're just starting that through the distribution channel. It's just now, Kickstarter was our focus for a very long time.
What would you say is your primary avenue right now?
Social, 100%. Yeah,
No, but
social.
the end user.
Oh, right now, someone who would appreciate the work that we've done, the very first one. So someone who's probably already spending quite a bit of effort or spending money. So
No,
like,
wait, maybe I got confused. The purchaser, right? What would be what would be their, pardon me, I got myself confused here. You would be selling, your immediate effort is to sell to individuals.
Correct. Right
Okay.
now. Yeah.
Okay. But when we spoke, the talk obviously is to expand that into
Correct.
other folks because that's where the volume is.
Correct. Yeah. This year it's just pre-orders, just trying to get the word out. And then next year, just essentially wherever a Keurig is sold, we want to be sold. So retail.
Wow. That's a lot of
I
places.
want to do hotels, businesses, the whole thing. But this year, just because we don't have the machine yet, we are limited to just consumers. And so we want to build more credibility through the testing, reactions, all that with
I agree.
social.
I agree.
Yeah.
And, the people who buy it directly, it's kind of like specialty coffee was years ago. You need some champions. They get it out there and they say, hey, I like this.
Yeah.
And, then you get the word of mouth, people moving it around. Not to plug anybody in particular in the area, but a good friend of mine owns a company called Middle Fork Roasters. I don't know, Mackie McNish. Anyway, so he's a good friend of mine, always saying to me, oh, we bring back ideas back and forth to one another. So, just as a side, if you'd love to have somebody like that, take a look at it. He's a cool guy, very, very driven by a good cup of coffee. And been like you, hanging out in Seattle for a lot of years.
They do a nice job. I'm familiar with their coffee.
Yeah, and dug out a little niche,
guys, yeah.
which is no easy thing to do.
Oh, fun.
And then they just brought a little roaster up in Linwood.
Okay.
They've picked off a few that are effectively taking the nosedive.
Yeah.
And there's no shortage of them taking nosedives out there in coffee. It ain't an easy business to get into. You got to know your shit and how to get around. So let me fall back for some kind of going back into your history, deep within your history, psychology. Okay. I can tell by meeting you that you have a lot of problems.
That's usually what.
How long do we have
counselors
in this podcast?
Yeah, like where are we at with our time? We
right,
probably
that's
need
right.
12 hours.
I read a little bit of her intake, and just from the few notes, I thought this one's fucked up. Bring her in. Yeah. But anyway, tell me a little about where you're from and what I did read some, but rather than me saying it, tell us just a little bit about who Naomi is.
I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I still live in Dallas.
Cool.
One of 6 kids. The interesting thing about me that I always tell is 2 sets of twins. I'm a twin.
Wow, you're a
Yeah,
twin.
I'm a twin. Well,
Where's
2
the other
sets
twin?
was the big one. You gotta it's just not. There's 4 of us.
Wait, I thought 4 of you plus mom and dad.
No. 4 twins, 2 singlets is what we call you people.
Singlets, like chicklets.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm one of 8, so we were all singlets.
Yeah, y'all are all singlets.
Yeah. So let's go
I'm a twin.
back to twins.
2 sets, 3 boys. We're the Brady Bunch. 3 boys, 3 girls. All the boys are twins. I'm the only girl twin.
Wow, that's fascinating.
It's actually pretty. We're all the same. My mom just had high fertility.
I know that problem. I got 5 of them. Jesus, so I'm making them like hotcakes. But anyway, so now I read a little bit about your basic living quarters as a young lady and a young girl. If you care to get into that at all.
Yeah, we were not. We were not raised wealthy. I don't know. I don't know what category you'd put us in, like the lower middle class or the upper lower class.
Okay, let's say not wealthy. We'll put you into the non-wealthy. And
good demarcation. I like that.
Let's go middle class.
I just
say
kind of
middle.
want to say upper, and then you just start to mumble like upper, lower.
we were in a class.
Yeah, we were in one.
One of them.
It wasn't a cast.
So yeah, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. That's what we stayed in. My house is bigger than that, which is always kind of shocking. But my parents did it. Then my dad was. I just learned to hustle. That's what you did. My dad put in everything. There was just a lot of children. 6 kids under 5.5 years.
That's a lot of kids.
A lot of kids. And then my mom was a nurse, and then she went back to school to get her doctorate.
Wow.
So then my dad, you just kind of learned. We never were given anything. We had to earn it. and worked hard. All of us work hard. And then 3 of us have businesses. So half of
Cool. What do you
50%.
think instilled that in you? I mean, you said your father makes you work. What did he do?
Well, sometimes if you want to eat, no.
Well, just honestly, talk about
Yeah,
that.
I think just we weren't given any. Like that's where with friends of mine that it's like that they're like, oh, my parents give me a car. I'm like, man, what is that like? Like that is awesome. And then my parents didn't pay for school. I didn't go to college.
I know that.
And then, but yeah, to not be given anything, like we just were not, we had to do chores. Our allowance, I don't know where my parents' math came from because it's not a good $8 a month. I still don't know why. $8. It's like,
In
why,
what year?
You're born in 1930, right? Is it?
why couldn't we be given $10? Like, why couldn't we be given like 10?
Well, 8 times 6 is, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make
Strange
sense.
math.
So, but we were
It may
given
be all they had. I mean, honestly,
Right.
There's a good chance that's it.
$8. So that was our allowance was $8.
Let's see, a quarter for.
I don't know why. And then and then I was the
Then
younger
you just
one.
gotta steal.
I was
I mean,
good with
that's all you can do.
well, and then I would do my siblings' chores, and they would trick me because my twin and I are the youngest, and so they would say, "Oh, do you want to do my chore for 55?" Oh, wait, they would just mess with me. So like 2 quarters or 50, like 10 cents, and so the number was like bigger. So I'm like, oh, the 8 pennies versus like $1, because to me it was 1 versus 8. And I knew my numbers. 8 was bigger.
With Nomi, you've gotten past that, I presume.
I don't know. So no, they would trick me, and I would do their chores for like 2 cents. So I was making $8.02.
Bad deal.
Bad deal.
So then, let's say this: you obviously you were, but early you started to write.
I did write. I mean, I love to write. I don't write very often. It's a creative space for me, but I still like to write.
Well, I mean,
Did I put that in my intake?
yeah, you did. You said something about you were saying shit
No,
like, "Oh, as a poet, I fucking wrote a book."
See, he did read this shit. We talked about this. Like, what is this intake about? I mean,
Yeah,
No,
you know.
I wrote to the school newspaper. This is what I put in the intake.
All right.
What's
Go
the
ahead.
purpose of life? I was writing at like age 16. So
Well, the purpose of life is not a small thing to
they
encounter
never
at 16.
wrote- they never wrote me back. So no, impact and
Oh,
purpose.
so you didn't write. You just
I
wrote shit that
I
nobody
wrote
wanted.
and they did.
wrote something.
You're right. Yeah, nobody wants to read this shit.
No one wrote me back. No, the
Sad.
purpose was really important to me. But yeah, it was just that's what I wrote. I do like to write. I did not put that in my intake. The newspaper comment I put into the intake.
All right, I'm not going to drag the intake out. This would be embarrassing. Okay, Bridget, get the intake out quickly. Fact check this thing. Anyway, so Scott, you're a local kid.
I grew up in Buffalo, New York, actually.
That's right. Okay, I read that.
dep-
Sorry.
Local depends on your view of geography. I guess.
Yeah.
But,
Chilly.
Yeah, chilly. Cold upbringing. Yeah. Went to school in Boston for a couple years and met a girl, fell in love, moved to San Francisco. That got me on the West Coast. And once I lived out here, I was like, no, I'm never going back to Buffalo. That place sucks. Great place to be from, as they say.
Good football team.
Good football team.
You
yeah,
cheer for them?
Of course.
Cool.
Yeah,
Good
you
for
have to. It's kind of a rule.
Yeah. Well, they've had their tough times.
Yeah,
through the
but it's
years.
been fun. It's been fun.
But anyway, so you live there, and then basically you ended up here.
Through
is that
Starbucks, actually, funny enough.
You moved up here at what age?
In 90, let's think about this. 94, I moved up here. I don't know how old I was.
He was 14.
I can't remember. I was probably in my 30s.
too.
In my 30s.
Okay. Yeah, that's
So I've been here a long time.
So now you end up. You got yourself into some. I don't think you'd mind me. Some legal imbroglio with somebody.
at all.
You know. Okay. Let's just call it an asshole.
That's a great Monty Slavic word, though.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a nice
An
one.
imbroglio. I think that's the right word.
Is
isn't
that
it?
a real word?
Yeah.
It's like to be embroiled in something
I think it's a
or
fight.
It's a
entangled.
great
or
word. Scott's really good with the English.
Imbroglio.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
have to add it to my list if you don't mind.
Somebody look it up because it is. It's an imbroglio. I almost swear it. But anyway, the hell with that. Now you're in this imbroglio.
It sounds like a scandal.
Well, you
Kinda
were.
does,
That's what I
actually.
heard.
It's juicy stuff right here. Let's hear
Continue.
about
We'll
this.
find out.
So at the end of my 20s, so my first marketing company was really young. So I was 24 when I hired my first employee, and then I had 5 or 6 by the time I was 26. But 29 is when it all kind of blew up. And so my accountant at the time was not filing the correct,
Oh, I read that.
the correct IRS taxes, which the IRS, by the way, does not like that.
No, it's not
No,
popular.
they don't. And they don't care about anything about you. They want their money.
Just attack.
So, yeah. So that opened up a massive can of worms that I had to lay off my staff, shut down the offices. We had two, one in Dallas and one in Houston.
Wow. So you
And
are a
then-
go-getter, girl. I mean, I
go-getter.
like that. I like that. I really do.
No, thanks. And then I shut it down, and then I had to just pay it down. So I had $300,000 worth of debt I didn't know existed, and so paid that an average of $18,000 in debt payments a month.
How the hell was it from your company or how?
So
$18,000.
$18,000 a month of debt payments, but the debt was $300,000. So it's
But you got to come up with $18,000. That's no small
well,
chore.
yeah, no,
for a
it's-
lower middle class girl.
well, I was upper
upper, lower.
She reached the upper or
Fuck,
lower.
I don't know where she was.
echelon
Not a lot of money.
Well, I
Got
changed.
802 to get her work done.
I think I changed. Yeah, no. So I was bringing in money from a marketing company. I just had to then switch to contractors and then
Okay.
work a lot more. So I became the project manager again and just started kind of hustling again. And then, yeah, just kind of, I always wanted to cry when we would get money, and then I would just simply write the checks to pay off the debt. So, yeah,
But you
credit
got out
card
of it.
was first. Yeah, 18 months. Praise the Lord.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was pretty aggressive payment down, and then paid it off, and then got exhausted, and then got burnt out by the age of 30. And so that's when I came up with this first idea. That's what led me to come up, because I was exhausted.
And you and this lad from the accounting firm had a little bit of a bump up.
I'm not quite sure about that terminology.
Well, it means you bumped into each other and something happened.
What does that mean? That's
okay,
still
okay,
sounds
sure.
sexual.
Okay, listen,
to me.
I know it
No.
does. It sounds kind of dirty. I don't know what that is. What are you talking
See,
about
I don't
over here,
know
Mark?
if you want to talk about this because
I
there's
don't
some
know.
muzzle on it. You and this
think he got
accountant
the wrong intake
got
form,
into
Naomi.
something where you said, "Hey, asshole, you owe me money.
Like, which-
You give me my money back."
No, it
Didn't you
wasn't.
go to court
no,
or something?
I sued him because there was tens of thousands of dollars of penalties from the IRS. But yeah, I mean, he didn't have the monies, but he was responsible. So I sued him for negligence, and we settled a year later. Yeah, and so it was a process of kind of being raked through the mud. Scott's really good with English, so he helps me sometimes.
Go ahead, Scott. What
tra-
would you call that?
Sometimes I translate for Naomi.
Bring it to the upper middle class terminology.
She reached an agreement, received some funds, and then continued on her payment strategy with the IRS.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah, so he's so good at English, isn't he?
Ooh, and now I know why you brought him on.
I am a writer.
So yeah, it was hard. So sued him. It wasn't meant to be a lawsuit. I can't go into obviously give names, but it was a hard process to be so young and to trust somebody with something I didn't know. Like, I still don't know stuff about finance. Like, I'm not an accountant.
you can't.
I'm not
you
a
can't. I
CPA.
mean, unless you're,
No.
you know what you know, and you know what you know, and you don't know advanced accounting.
So there was trust and just kind of violation of that trust. And so, but I owned it and did what I had to do to get it done, and just had to reevaluate the path that I was on, because I knew I didn't want to do the marketing company for the next 30 years.
But you still do some of the marketing.
I do some for some companies. So.
Okay. And you still enjoy that.
Yeah. We do a lot of videos too, and so that caught national companies' eyes. The video storytelling, which I still love.
You're cranking them out for social media now?
There's no cranking except for Nomi cranking, or yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because we crank here. You know, I mean, a podcast by its nature is, I always joke around, it's like fishing for a minnow in the ocean. And you're hoping you catch something that will grow. And in the meantime, we're spending a fair amount of money to get it out. But like you, it can be just at times a little discouraging. You're not getting the traction you want. But I'm used to begging and chasing, so it's taken on a little bit of a, fuck this. If it for some reason or another isn't successful, first, I don't care. I'll enjoy it personally, but it's like, now I just don't want to figure the equation out.
Yeah.
Like, how the hell do you do this? And that's a hard one.
Yeah.
With all the shit going on. So now you went to Africa twice.
You did read my intake form.
Riding elephants? Or no, you didn't kill any big animal.
No, I did not kill.
Thank God.
Yeah, the first time I was 15.
How'd you get there at 15?
Botswana. I did a mission trip.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because you went
So
to
it's
a
in
Bible school or something to that effect?
That was after 18.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So 15, I did a mission trip. I was Botswana, which is just above South Africa, so southern, and then Zimbabwe. But I was there for a month, and then came back.
What did you see there that because it had a
before.
pivotal point? I mean, a pivotal word. You can get sick of pivotal.
I love pivots.
Pivots are
what's not
obnoxious.
pivot? It was
No more
important to you.
Well, that trip was good, but the real one to me was fast forward. In 2010, I went to Kenya by myself, and so to come from a mission trip where there's probably 150 Americans, and then the Botswanans, and then to go to the Kenyans where I was the only American was really amazing. Like I love that trip so much. So that just opened my eyes.
How long were you there?
I think 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
So I visited missionary friends of mine, and they said, Naomi, do you want to go travel by yourself with the locals? And I was like, yes. So I went and I just did life with them, which again, for my first trip, I saw the difference of we were kind of separated. And you have to from a sense of safety. And there's so many of us in Botswana. They were like, just do whatever they want to do. And so like one of the things, I think I was 21 at the time.
Eat bugs?
I did.
Ugh.
But you ate bugs with the cockroaches and you kind of swipe them off. But one of the most I was 21, 22, and I interviewed at the time. They were like, hey, Naomi, we need help with this orphanage. We just need you to interview the kids to see when they became orphans. So probably in a day, it was the most emotional taxing day I've ever had. It's probably 70 or 80 kids, like below age 8. You just have to talk about death. And you're like, hey, when did your dad die? When did your mom die?
Oh, my God.
And then when did your aunt and uncle die? And then when did your brother die? Like, because there's just death was this common
And
theme.
it's a qualification, I guess, or something like
Well,
that.
to become
bring
an
the kid-
orphan,
Yeah.
So, and then how often they were actually being fed. And it was I had a translator. Her name was Rose. And she was like, it was just I was 21, 22. And so, and then the level
No,
of
even
poverty.
if you're 30 or 64,
that's
I
a
mean,
big deal.
that's a punch in
Yeah,
the
it was
gut.
a pretty intense because death. I think Americans we just make death pretty, and then in these other countries where death is normal, it just looks different. It does not look pretty, and so so I came back, and I was just really struck by the level of poverty, and then how to actually create wealth in a sustainable way because billions has been poured into the continent of Africa. And so, I kind of started this journey of how do you create wealth in a sustainable manner without creating codependency. And that was what led me back to starting Nomi. So it was more of an impact.
But you mentioned
first
through watching poverty, I think I got this right, that you came to realize that business was an avenue to get people out of poverty.
I think it's the only way to alleviate poverty.
Yeah.
In a
Because
sustainable way.
Yeah, it's kind of I agree, first off, completely. But it's not, let's say, it's not cool in a lot of circles to say, oh, I'm going to make money and that's going to help people. Because everybody just thinks, like me, I'm, white, guy with money. Sometimes that's considered, I'm maybe a poster child for maybe it's today considered a little bit of a jerk. You know what I mean? Like in culture, I don't think that's true so much, but you feel it occasionally, or you feel awkward.
I do not. I'm not a man.
No. Okay.
We noted that earlier.
Okay, but we can still say that you got your dick in your hand when that comes out. How about it? A little bit of jokes?
So, but I think what I love about this generation of business is that it's not a new thought that business can do good for the world. And so
That's true.
And starting to think about things and starting to kind of process of how to do it. But like B Corps, like that's how I discovered B Corps. B is for beneficial. And you now have thousands of companies that say, hey, I want my business to do good for the world. So I don't
Tell me, what's a B
feel
Corp? I mean, just to define it in specific words.
Do you want to say?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
B is
well,
in,
Scott, we haven't heard from you. Come on.
It's okay. I don't really know.
Bring it
I
up.
don't know the official definition.
It's B after A.
No,
before
B,
C.
B is for beneficial.
Okay, I heard that. You benefit being
And
okay.
so
Go ahead.
it's just what I said. The idea is that business can do good for the world. That's their fundamental thought, which is what I believe as well.
Okay.
But it's very rigorous standards that you have to follow. It's very rigorous to get there. We'll eventually become a B Corp, but like we have the mindset that we already want to do good, but we're just not going to be stamped for a while.
What would be an example? I mean, is it like Warby Parker?
Warby Parker's a B Corp, Tom's, like those are the big ones.
Tom's, yeah.
But they'll do everything, like your distribution, their fulfillment, transparency. So the level of transparency that you have in your channel is very important to B Corps.
That's cool. Doc Martens.
I don't know.
Have you seen Doc Martin?
I'm
Anybody
familiar with them.
Yes, I know.
Disgusting. Have you ever seen those things? They're the ugliest things in the world. Those big black things the kids wear. I mean, I feel like I'm really old, like my parents.
Kids today. Right?
How can you have that disgusting long hair? Now my daughters come home with the Doc Martens on. I'm like, oh my God. They are the stupidest looking things in the world. And to them, they just love it. So what the fuck?
Then you say, please get off my lawn.
Exactly.
Right.
But I don't think they're a B Corp.
I don't think that went a different way. I don't know if they're B Corp.
I suspect not. Well, let's say they are. Just
I don't know. But B Corp lists on their company, so you can look into it.
Okay. Well, that's interesting for our audience. B Corp.
Yeah. So I'm not going to like wave a flag that I'm the only one who wants to do good, but I am encouraged to see and talk to companies that want to do good and how to do it, and that's cool. Like the younger generation, even younger than I am, really wants. I think they want their purchase to matter, and they want the companies to be transparent and accountable.
Well, that feeds into the concept of Nomi Brew.
Yes, it does.
Apparently. And how about you? When you look at business, I mean, we're a different generation, so I think both of us can say it was a different world.
Sure.
But not trying. We're not ready to drive people into the dirt. Well, I was. I was very.
I mean, you're paying minimum wage, huh?
Little under.
Little under.
Waiting. Like the Department of Labor shows up. Everybody gets a raise.
Yeah.
How much? 50 cents and shut up. But what was your view? I mean, you're from a bigger company.
Yeah, for me, I worked at a bigger company. I worked for Timberland shoe company for a period of time when I was in college. Yeah, that was fun. Good ethics there.
Good product.
Good product as well. I think the big company that I did work for, was founded on a lot of benevolence, both for employees and then over time, more and more sort of digging into what the supply chain looked like. What was the network of farmers, cooperatives, exporters, importers, and how would you strike a balance with those people in that supply chain to let them know that you're a company that does care what happens on the ground. And as I said, there's sort of a lot of misunderstandings of that company because it was small and then got big, and now it's enormous.
Mongo.
But I spent years of my career writing a sort of a code of conduct with a number of other people across the organization and across the coffee industry that said transparency is important. If we
was a big hit. That was a big one.
If we have an exporter that's making 40 cents a pound on the coffee and the producer's making 5 cents, there's something wrong with the model. And it was uncomfortable for a lot of people who sold the company coffee to open their books. And I remember this one exporter who I won't say their name, but they were an overseas exporter, and he asked me like, "So
was that exporter you?"
No, okay. He said, "So what's this is back when I was living in Switzerland." He was like, "What's the goal?" And like, well, we'd like to get like 85% of the people in this program, which is called Cafe Practices. And the old German guy, he's like, "Can we be in the 15% that doesn't?" And I was like, "Man, you just don't get it. It's like this is the way the trade is going, and this is looking back like 25 years now." And I think what I'm proud of in that world is more people ask, more people want to know that it's not about fair trade or any of that. It's more clear understanding of how the supply chain works. And if the world really was just and fair, there wouldn't be any coffee at all.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the thing with anybody who doesn't know me, basically, coffee guy goes out there, drags a bunch of shit off a tree, piles it up somewhere, and it costs them $3 to get it off the tree and all that, and they only can get $2.75 on the market or $3.10. So what's the guy do or gal do? They stop growing it. They're not making any money. So how can the world support them? Pay them a little more so they can sustain themselves.
That's what we believe in, yeah. And it's what's messed up is, and this is part of the whole pod thing. Shitty coffee ends up in those pods, and the way that the world makes up for that deficit where the cost of production is too high in certain countries is that shittier coffee gets grown in places like Vietnam and Brazil. So it becomes a race to the bottom with what is the cheapest possible price I can pay to get coffee. And then the arrogance that is attached to that is like, people can't tell the difference, Mark.
No,
they don't know.
No, they don't.
They don't know. But we don't think that's true. We think they do know. And we think that specialty coffee is the answer because better prices are paid for that coffee. And that ultimately benefits the grower in pick your country, who is taking a little bit better care and better effort to make the coffee more palatable, which I firmly believe people will pay for. If coffee becomes a luxury good, people are still going to buy coffee every day. And you can't convince me that if I grew up drinking really nice coffee, whether it was from Pete's or Starbucks or whoever, that all of a sudden I'm going to go, you know what? That red can tastes fucking delicious. Let me have that. Or that blue can. Those are really tasty products.
Well,
they're not.
By the time I came around, that wasn't going any good. My old man, though, he took a sip of Starbucks. He's like, what's this shit?
Yeah.
The hell's this? Give me some Folgers, and while you're at it, grab me a whiskey.
Yeah. I mean,
get a cigar.
It took a long time for those habits to change, but it's like once you've had that better product, I think a lot of people switched out.
Yeah. Oh, well, clearly that's where they, because I don't think the production of the amount of green bean coming into the country has not grown as significantly as the specialty market.
That is true.
Yeah. So where are they taking it?
But consumption in general and the amount of coffee grown each year has increased. So when I started back in the early 1920s, there was like, let's say 100 million 60 kg bags. Now there's like 150.
Oh, really?
145.
Oh, I'm mistaken. Mistaken. I thought it was just stealing it off the big guys.
No, the whole, and it's again like poor quality has grown and better quality has grown. But consumption in general has risen.
Oh, cool.
And with COVID, it's people are actually, I've read the research where people just want better coffee. I mean, because you're working from home and you're not necessarily making the stop. I know we're 4 years out of it, but it also helped grow the higher quality coffee market.
We saw in whatever the housing crash was, I was in a panic thinking, nobody's going to buy bags. I was in the bag business. So I drove everybody's, of course, their pay down. I cut it down to $7 an hour, which was half the minimum wage. But they couldn't get a job. I had them right where they got them, you know what I mean, by the short hairs. So anyway.
Terrible.
Not ethical, not even transparent, nothing.
Yeah, no ethics.
It's like opposite of what we're discussing, Mark.
That's right. Just a grubby bastard.
He makes the bags right by the river, actually. So it's sandy.
And we just children. That's all we use, just kids. But who needs them? There's too many of them. But anyway, the what we did find out, we were really worried. And we thought, oh, shit, we spelled specialty coffee, specialty pet food. It stayed flat or went up. And the general argument was people didn't want to they didn't want their dog to not be fed properly as a part, their money's down. What are they going to do? I'm not going to let the dog, get off his diet, and I'm not going to give up my good cup of coffee in the morning. Yeah. And also a more affluent group. I'm sure that wasn't true of, people who didn't have money. So now let's just circle back to Nomi and tell me what's going down. Honestly, throw on your super confident, really. I mean, I know you have it. Let's give it, lay it on us. What's got you pumped about it? What do you think it's going to do? Where do you think it's going to go? In your dreams, where would the cash come from? Honestly, just lay it on us.
I don't know why Scott's laughing. But he's laughing.
Nowhere.
No, I think we have the potential to become a household name, and I think people are ready for a better single serve machine. Mm-hmm. I want to do it well. Like I think that we have the potential to possibly grow too fast. Like with our marketing plan, we shouldn't say. No, I'm gonna not say our marketing plan on public world.
The marketing plan is to sell shit.
Yes,
sell shit.
Okay.
Hopefully a lot of it.
A lot of it.
Yeah. So I would hope that, so homes are first, hotels and businesses, there's a huge potential. I just think people are ready for a single serve machine that's affordable. I think it's a simple concept, and I'm surprised it's not done. And I think people the brands who have had the ability to do this just want the higher margins. But I do think people are ready for a better machine. I don't think they're wanting to give up convenience, but they don't want to spend $2,000 on it. And I'm talking about the general public.
Yeah.
I know they're the Juras. I know the things exist for a high-end market. It does not exist for just the affordable everyday person who just wants to grab their cup of coffee and enjoy it and work.
Well,
It's simple. It's kind of just like, I think the last 3 years, it's like, why hasn't someone else done that? Like, this is a simple concept.
well,
People ask that too. It's sort of like, this seems really not that complex. Why has no one done this? And we're like, we have no idea. Actually.
well, I'll tell you what. They say, ideas are a dime a dozen. Implementation is the uniqueness to it. Yeah. So, Scott, as we wrap up here, what do you think it is? I mean, what's got you sitting here?
A couple things. I mean, just really quick as we're running out of time, but I think I would use this product. That to me is a big thing. Is just, I've got a lot of coffee paraphernalia in my 34 years, and some of them with lack of use don't get used. They are the back of the cupboard, and this is like, okay, I would use this every day. I like the fresh ground idea. I like getting a cup. I mean, frankly, out of ego, I get to design what this shit tastes like.
Yeah, well,
I love
that's
that.
cool. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
I mean, being a kingpin's fun.
It's fun, and we think there's a space for this to exist, and we're not greedy. We're not looking for giant market share. We just want to sell some machines.
I was fucking greedy. I'm telling you. Fuck that. I'm greedy. All kidding aside here, Naomi with Nomi Brew and Scott with Nomi Brew. Wow, it was great just sitting here and chatting with you, and just thanks for coming on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This was fun.
Great, Mark. Thanks.
Okay. Listen, this is the end of the show. And if you enjoy this episode, it's available on Facebook, Spotify, Apple, and we welcome you to look at some of the other episodes. We think they're really great too. And if you look at them, well, Instagram also, you can go on all those fancy shit, right? Like us, follow us. If you like it, let me know. If you don't like it, I don't want to know.
Yeah, we don't really care.
We don't really care, do we?
Let Bridget know.
Let Bridget know. Okay, yeah, tell Bridget. Anyway, hey, thanks so much. And until next time, toodles. Thank you for listening to The Mark Halley Show. If you found this story as intriguing as we did, give us a like, share the episode, and subscribe. For other stories like this one, you can check us out wherever you stream your content at The Mark Howley Show. New episodes every other Friday. Adios.